This week is a former Class 1 that is now a Class 2 regional railroad and extremely busy. This railroad once served the Florida Keys until a hurricane took out the bridges. It is among the few smaller railroads that handles intermodal traffic. This is the Florida East Coast Railway, which is one of the oldest operating railroads in the nation. Henry Flagler, former president of Standard Oil, bought the Jacksonville, St. Augustine, and Halifax River Railway on December 31st, 1885, and converted it from 3-foot to standard gauge in 1890. In 1889, he bought 3 more railroads to add to the Flagler Railroad system. These were the St. John's Railway, St. Augustine and Palatka Railway, and the St. John's and Halifax River Railway, and expanding his system to serve Florida between Jacksonville and Daytona. In 1892, he started actually building a railroad, adding 80 miles of new track stretching south towards Miami, reaching West Palm Beach in 1894, but did not plan on reaching Miami. Now there was a frost in Florida in the 1894 and 1895 winter, which froze produce. It was told that a woman, Julia Tuttle, sent Flagler boxes of orange blossoms to show that the Miami area was not frozen. The truth was she only sent him a wire, and he sent his lieutenants down who brought boxes of produce and citrus back. Tuttle and William Brickell then offered him land to build a hotel and extend his tracks to Biscayne Bay. On September 7, 1895, the Jacksonville, St. Augustine, and Indian River Railway Company, also known as the Flagler Railroad System, changed its name to the Florida East Coast Railway Company and reached Biscayne Bay on April 15th the following year. Through this time, the railroad employed mostly convicts through Florida's convict lease program. Flagler's next project was the Overseas Railroad, which was started in 1904 using a series of islands and bridges across the Florida Keys to Key West. Completed on January 21st, 1912, when the train of engineers arrived in Key West, followed by Flagler on January 22nd. This was the most daring privately funded feat of engineering and is considered the 8th wonder of the world, reaching 128 miles across water and islands. His main reason for building this was the construction of the Panama Canal. Key West was a deep-water port that was the closest in the U.S. to the eastern end of the Panama Canal and could have been an incredible source of traffic. Plus, Key West was a major coaling station for ships. During construction, 3 hurricanes threatened the project, and conditions were so harsh that the FEC was prosecuted by the Justice Department, but it was completed. Alas, the same year that ships stopped taking on coal in Key West because their fuel range had been increased. The Overseas Railroad lasted until Labor Day 1935 when a hurricane took out sections of the right-of-way and damaged others. The FEC could not afford to repair the line and thus abandoned it south of Florida City, selling the remainder to the state of Florida, which used the remaining right-of-way and rebuilt missing sections to create the Overseas Highway. This involved building bridges on top of bridges, a very interesting construction that still can be seen from US 1, which is a new Overseas Highway. The old Overseas Highway remains as a trail, although sections have been removed so you can't walk or bike it the entire 128 miles straight through. Through the 20s, the FEC had a major traffic increase, built the Moultrie Cutoff to shorten the distance between St. Augustine and Ormond Beach, and then double tracking between Jacksonville and Miami. The Depression caused the FEC to enter receivership by September 1931, and buses took over passenger service on the branch lines, while streamliners handled the main lines from 1939 to 1963. Jointly operated by the Atlantic Coastline Railroad. Edward Ball became the majority owner of FEC in the 1960s and tried furiously to make it profitable, the railroad never having recovered from the crash of 1929. Strikes on the railroad led to violence, which had to be stopped by federal intervention. Through the strikes, the railroad did cut costs, improving its physical plant, installing automation, and cut labor. Ball got the railroad into a better place and then turned it over to Raymond Wyckoff on May 30th, 1984. The labor strike had lasted 14 years, from 1963 to 1977. This caused passenger traffic to cease in 1963, though it was brought back on August 2nd, 1965, using a single locomotive and 2 streamlined passenger cars on each train with no baggage and basically no amenities, only soft drinks, coffee, and a box lunch. Sounds like Amtrak today. The service ended on July 31st, 1968, and the FEC became a freight-only line. In 2007, the FEC was acquired by Fortress Investment Group, which also owned Rail America. However, the FEC was completely independent of Rail America. This did not stop Rail America from transferring FEC power around the country, even New England Central. 4 SD70M-2s were painted in red, white, and blue, giving the impression that FEC was a Rail America property. And The FEC is a precision railroad operating in tight schedules that do not bend for anything. Northbound and southbound trains depart at the same time, meeting halfway and swapping crews, ensuring the crew is home every night. They have been using PTC since a fatal accident in 1987 and is mostly 136-pound continuous welded rail on concrete ties controlled by PTC and operating at a track speed of 60 miles per hour. The FEC's main business is their limestone rock trains and intermodal, with currently 2-unit rock trains running. Intermodal is the busiest, with EMP, UPS, and Walmart being the most traffic. The expansion of the Panama Canal will benefit the FEC as they have worked to serve the Port of Miami and Port Everglades, starting service in 2013 and 2014, with a new intermodal facility having been built at Hialeah Yard in 2015. Manifest freight is handled on rock and intermodal trains alike. They do not run pure manifest freights, merely sticking manifests on whatever train is going that way. The FEC replaced their entire fleet of locomotives during the EMD second generation with 49 GP40, GP40-2, and 11 GP38-2 road switchers, and then in 2002 added 20 UP SD40-2 road switchers. These under Fortress started roaming the nation and still are on former Rail America properties labeled as leased or ex-FEC units. 7 of these SD40-2s have the retro paint that is also applied to the S44 C4s. In 2006, the FEC added 4 leased SD70M-2s in blue or yellow, and then in 2009 added 4 more in red, pearl, blue, and then leased 3 CITX SD70M-2s. These served until 2014 when FEC purchased their 24 ES44 C4s, which are dual fuel capable, able to run on LNG or diesel, or making 12 sets of power with an LNG tender between them. All 10 GP40s are gone. 402 was wrecked, 406 was repainted to 2000 and remained with number 403 until 2013. Now they are all on other former Rail America properties or scrapped. FEC maintains a fleet of GP40-2 and GP40-3 locomotives, one of which includes FEC 434, which was the last GP40-2 built. Of the 11 GP38-2s, only 5 remain. 501 and 507 are in retro blue paint. 502 to 506, and 509 were sold. The 5 left are usually in the yards as switchers, but occasionally make it onto a local. The northernmost part on the FEC is their Jacksonville Yard. This is where they interchange with CSX and NS. All Class 1 tracks around their yard is CSX. NS has a double-track main that at McQuaid Street that ends at McQuaid Street, and their trains take CSX tracks roughly 3 blocks to the crossover at the FEC's Jacksonville Yard. Jacksonville Yard is mainly intermodal and is crammed into Jacksonville using every available spot for tracks. There is a large car repair shop in the middle. CSX bypasses the FEC on it with a double-track line curving westward just after Jacksonville Yard and a Y leading to another double-track CSX line heading west. The FEC snakes southeast to the large double-track bridge with draw section across the St. Johns River. The next feature is Bowden Yard, which is larger than Jacksonville Yard, with a 4-track intermodal terminal with MyJack trains and intermodal classification yard. This yard is their northern base of operations, with the engine fueling pads, engine house, engine shops, road power, and some local power all here. There also is the first industry, Titan Florida Cement, which has 2 spurs along the Y that receives open and covered hoppers. Just a short distance south and still along Bowden Yard is Cemex Florida, which receives open hoppers on 3 tracks. Continuing south, the yard ends and double and single track ends, and then double track ends at Sunbeam Road, and single track goes south. The FEC parallels US 1 south, both double and single track through St. Augustine, where the tracks run between US 1 and the San Sebastian River, even cutting through part of the river on a causeway before curving and crossing it heading west before the line splits. An industrial branch heading west while the main curves south. The industrial branch runs over to just west of I-95 where the FEC serves Conagra Brands and Titan America. The main continues south passing 2 transloads where open hoppers are unloaded. The second also handles covered hoppers. The main bypasses Palm Coast, reaching Argo Cement just north of Bunnell. There is a lot more to cover on the FEC, but I just can't get it all in one video, and I don't really want to do a 2-part video. Next week, we remain in eastern Florida for the Jacksonville Port Terminal Railroad. This didn't take as long as I thought it was going to. I thought this was going to be like 15 minutes just reading that part, but it's not. But I'll cover quickly why the Florida East Coast is no longer a Class 1. it's not that they got smaller, it's that Class 1s got bigger. And the bar to be a Class 1 railroad was raised. So if there weren't the mega Class 1s, Norfolk Southern and CSX, BNSF, hey, a train. Speaking of Norfolk Southern, Union Pacific, Canadian National, Kansas City Southern, and Canadian Pacific, the Florida East Coast would probably still be a Class 1, but the bar has been raised so high by those 7 that it doesn't meet the financial criteria anymore. It definitely is. Maybe once the ports of Port Everglades and Port of Miami really start getting a lot of intermodal traffic, maybe their traffic will increase, their earnings will increase, and maybe there will be another Class 1. If KCS gets merged into Canadian Pacific, maybe Florida East Coast will eventually become our 7th Class 1. Then CSX will probably try to take it over. I don't think that would work. I don't think that would happen, though, because CSX and Florida East Coast merging would give an unfair advantage. I think it would probably go to NS if they merge with somebody. That's the end of this video. I'm going to go watch Sparky. Thanks to Rick's cousin, Bruce the Spruce, for staying in the background of this video. Really gives it a Christmassy feel. Plus, ho ho ho! Merry Christmas! Ha ha!